And just by the skin of his teeth, Rich gets in there, look. Yes, hello. Everybody, it is UK Cowboys TV Season 2, Episode 102. And it is, of course, the draft edition. This week, we're going to be looking at the quarterback position and prospects, as well as Dak Prescott, and how it all falls into position with the Cowboys at the 10th pick. So get your comments in, guys. Get your thoughts, feelings, and all the rest of it as we break this down this week. But this week, we've got the three wise kings here with us. We've got Paul, Jamie, and Rich. How you all doing, guys?
When you mentioned we're talking about quarterbacks, I'm like, oh, fantastic, great. This should be fun.
Paul's going to be on the 2020 and stuff tonight to get him through this show.
Why? What's wrong with the quarterback position then, Paul? Explain. Give us. We'll start it off right from the very beginning. What's wrong with the quarterback position?
Well, it's either we're going to sign Dak or not, but I'm just like, if we do sign Dak, then there's no need to talk about quarterbacks, if you know what I mean.
Very true. But there is another reason to talk about quarterbacks, because it is vitally important for the 10th pick. We'll get into that a bit later on as we drop down through the show. But yeah, we're going to look into that. But obviously, first of all, some news and updates, as we always get into the beginning of the news and all the rest of it. The only bit of news that has come out this week is that the Cowboys have turned around and they've said that they are looking to basically tag Dak for another year. Now, just before people kick off, this stage of tagging Dak, it's not really that much of an issue. It's basically to keep him in the building, to keep the contract talks flowing. But for you guys, what do you think? Is there anything in that? Do you think that it's going to be another year playing under the tag, or do you just think this part of the process?
We're not going to do a Kirk Cousins. We're not going to do a Kirk Cousins situation where we're paying double the tag money. Like Jerry would be dumb to even think about actually paying that amount of money just for one season. Now, considering coming back from that mental injury, he would want to just try and put him on the tag, like still sign him to the tag.
Yeah.
But you can still renegotiate to break that once you've got a long-term contract signed up. So that's the whole plan anyway. So, I mean, it has to happen. If that's the case, the long-term deal, it has to happen regardless if he signs that tender for the franchise tag.
Yeah.
It has to happen. There's no ifs, no buts.
I were on about it to Steve over Super Bowl night, and then over the last couple of days. If Dak's the quarterback of this franchise, it has to be done. There's no way on earth it can play like Paul says. What's I think actually would say that what's the what would be the hit for the cap this year? Because it'll be high. Like saying if he's
39, it's basically works out to be about 39 million.
Well, if it's 39 million, then you might as well just pay him 40 and get it done with.
Exacto.
If he's the QB of this franchise, it's got to be done. If not, and before people slag me off, I'm a fan of Dak. I want Dak to get signed. But if they don't want him, then just let's just cut ties and let's look at one in the draft, or let's look at try to pick one up in a trade. Do you know what I mean? There's no point thinking about paying him 39 million. It's not going to sign him.
And it does seem weird when you think last year what they went through. That they signed Blake Jarwin for a long-term contract. They signed Amari Cooper to a huge contract. They drafted Amari.
Well, not necessarily. He took a team-friendly deal as well.
It did, yes, in that respects. But it was still a huge deal. Yeah. As it turns out, as it always does with these sort of deals, Amari Cooper looks like a big contract to kick off things like last year. You go, oh, wow, 22 million. you start looking at the sort of contracts that wide receivers are going to get this year, doesn't look so bad. So it always works the same way in these roundabout fashion. But they do that. They draft CeeDee Lamb. And the bit that I find a bit weird is you do all of that, and then you don't sign the guy who's throwing them the ball. Do you see where I'm coming from? Does it not make a lot of sense? But I did say, go on, Paul.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, I totally agree. Like, I mean, what's the point of getting an quarterback that has not built any chemistry with those wide receivers in the past that's actually earned them those contracts? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think one of the other arguments you could look at as well. I know we've been having kind of comments and chats in the Facebook group. People say go out and get Watson. Well, the only way the Cowboys are potentially going to get Watson is you're going to have to get Dak to agree to sign and then trade him. And it's going to cost you at least 3 first-round picks if Matthew Stafford costs 2.
It's never going to happen. We're not.
What I mean, that's the only way it's going to happen. And to be fair, and I've seen, and this is no knock on Deshaun Watson because he's a good receiver, but if you look at what's he done in Houston? What's he done? Sorry. Yeah. What's he done? What's he done in Houston that Dak hasn't done in Dallas?
Yeah, people like him league wide.
The stats are more measurable. Like the pretty much near. Like if not, Dax is more better than Deshaun's in respect.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Over the course of how long they played in the league, I'd still pick Dak ahead of Deshaun.
Oh, exactly. That's it. His stats are better. So why pay all the draft picks to get a QB that's played not to the same standard that Dak's been playing? It's just taking a step back, isn't it?
Yeah. But here's one for you. I'll ask all of you this question.
That comment, perfect summary of it.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll get to another point that is absolutely huge in and instrumental in signing Dak this year. It's because of what could happen potentially next year. Get to that late down in the show as well. But here's a question for you on Deshaun Watson, and I'll ask you lot and everybody watching as well. I just want you to, in one small sentence, finish this. Deshaun Watson is better than Dak because
he doesn't play for the Dallas Cowboys.
You can't finish that sentence, can you?
I can't.
That's what I mean.
But just kind of, I want to go back to this comment what DG Dog just mentioned there. It's like, if he's under the franchise tag next season, Dak is gone after that. It's like if he's playing under the franchise tag, then I can imagine. So but we do need to put him in the franchise tag, so therefore we can keep the negotiations going to get him on that long-term deal. Because once we got the long-term deal, that franchise tag goes gone. That's it. That 4-year or 5-year contract, whatever that may be, that will take precedence over that. Yeah. So, and we won't take much of a cap hit and whatever and that, and kind of backs up Lauren's point here. Really need to get him signed long-term, tagging him seriously hinders the ability to get any free agents, even for depth. And that is so true. And that's one thing that we've lacked big time this year was depth in our team. Even in
Sorry, Steve would when me and Steve were commenting as well. What it also does is playing him on the tag this year. Also, potentially could hinder team morale.
Of course it does. Of course it does. You've got one guy that's betting on himself repeatedly, has won every time, and he doesn't get a deal, which basically says that the team don't value him, or the leadership doesn't value him. It's not a very good speak. Not a very good look. With regards to the news that came out, I mean, I thought it was a load of rubbish, to be honest. I thought it was no news.
Are you talking about the Washington thing?
No, I'm on about them saying that they anticipating signing him, and if not, they're going to tag him. That came out on the Saturday, like way at the start. It's like, no shit. Like, we've known that all along, since last year. They were either going to tag him again or they were going to sign him. How is this news? All that reeked of was it's the day before the Super Bowl. Cowboys are back in the media again. That's all that was to me. It was a no news story.
And this is no disrespect to Dak, but the balls are more in the Cowboys' court in this one. They have the more power to say, well, you are coming back from this injury. Now, they can still offer him that same type of contract from what they offered last year. Like,
yeah.
And if I was Dak, I would take it because no other team will offer him that type of money because he just came back from that injury. For start,
this is the thing, and I think we've said it before, was that it's how is this injury going to make him feel now in terms of
mentally
being able to bet on himself? Because exactly, because of that. Because I mean, at the end of the day, he's now felt for a second, even if it was just for a second, he thought, crap, what am I going to do now? I haven't got a deal past this year. I'm on a franchise tag. If this has happened, if I'd have just signed the deal, my XYZ amount would have been guaranteed.
And here's the thing: if he like the whole point of Dak was to sign a 4-year contract was for him to earn an even bigger contract in the next 4 years.
Exactly.
So he has no freeway. Well, if in Dak's position here, he can't really argue what's been offered to him right now. He can't really.
The only thing is that it's not necessarily Dak arguing for the deal. It's his agent.
That's someone the only thing. Yeah, someone just kind of mentioned that in the comments there. Let me see.
And he has come back from injuries before, specifically ankle injuries.
Yeah,
when he was younger.
There we go.
When you look at it.
Yeah, his agent is.
But we're not arguing hundreds or thousands of dollars. We're arguing millions. What the fuck? I mean, no. Majority of the people on this planet will not earn £1 million in their lifetime, and they're arguing over millions over a length of a contract. It's absolutely ludicrous.
That's what it is, Jamie. When you're a professional athlete, just the way it is. I mean, look at all the contracts that's going about in the NBA right now. I mean,
sure.
That's a different sport, but extra couple of millions there and there makes a hell of a difference. That could be a brand new Lamborghini or a brand new house for them, for example.
I totally agree. When you narrow
it's like Rich just says, as if we can bloody earn that in our lifetime,
It just makes you want to bang your head against the wall, doesn't it? It's like, I couldn't.
Oh yeah, of course it does. Yeah. It's
millions.
Yeah, you need to sort of dissociate from that a bit and just be like, well, at the end of the day, it's just a guy negotiating himself the contract that he thinks he's worth at the end of the day, and it just happens that that's an industry that deals in millions, not thousands or hundreds.
I think when you mentioned obviously about it's more his agent, it always kind of flicks me back to, you always hear about it. I can't remember the agent's name in baseball, the guy that was Bryce Harper's agent. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. And like literally he pretty much holds MLB teams to ransom, and it's just ludicrous that someone's got so much power when clearly from what we've heard, Dak wants to play for the Cowboys. It's like, you know what I mean? It's just obviously his agent's running through his ear and he's got all that.
See, Jamie, you're right there, Jamie. The problem was the last time was that bloody Todd France ruined everything. He was trying to get more money for himself rather than think about his client. Because he dropped that big blockbuster deal for Tannehill for the Titans, right? Mm-hmm. And he's thinking, oh, I'm wondering if I can do the exact same, basically try and fleece Jerry Jones. Not gonna happen. No chance.
It wasn't I don't even think it was that, to be honest, because I saw.
Honestly, Todd France literally tried to fleece the Jones.
No. I think he did something else, because I found this out earlier in the week. I watched a video from Mike Fisher, right?
Yeah.
On YouTube, basically saying that it wasn't necessarily trying to fleece Jerry Jones. If you look at that year, last year there were 3 guys. Mr. France, he left his old company.
Agency.
He was due to, he left his old agency to go and join a new one. He happened to take with him Dak Prescott and I think 2 or 3 other guys, all on franchise tag deals. That's a lot of guaranteed money for you to take to a new agency to make your name, and then the next year try and get him a deal. straight away, you've got a bank of people. You're going to get money straight off the bat, the commission he's going to get, the commission the new agency is going to get, and then potential deals future on. And they're made with that new agency, by the way, and with him. That is no coincidence. As they always say, follow the money. And I think that's exactly what's happened. That gives me more confidence that this deal's going to get done this year. That was a plan.
Because he's gone now. He's
in my opinion.
He's got too fucked. Thank God for that, because he literally ruined the fact that we could have actually had more potential salary cap space for that season. Yeah. Last season, essentially.
Yeah.
But he screwed it.
If that situation wasn't in play, with the agent leaving, going to a new agency, that deal would have got done last year. I honestly believe that.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And the thing is, people don't realize, some people just don't really realize that the agents are the ones that are doing the talking. The players have no say so. They are basically there just to sign the deal. It's all left. It's between the agent and the general manager, owner, which is Jerry Jones, obviously, and Stephen. They'll be there, but Dak's not there in the negotiation process. It's always the agent that has to say so. It's like, nah, that's not good enough. Blah 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 blah, and basically they just give the contract to Prescott or whoever that player may be and tell him, sign the dotted line, got you the best contract I could get, pretty much.
Do you know who needs to have a whisper in his ear? Tyron Smith. Bang goes the days of Tyron Smith saying, "This is what I want. You help me through my injury spell. Just give me this. I won't ask for no more money, and we'll just leave it at that."
I mean, and you're quite right in what you're saying with Todd France and his agent. And in some respects, the players aren't actually allowed to talk to the team about certain parts of their contract. It's actually written up that they're not allowed to talk about it. Yeah. But also, the only other bit of news and update that has come through, which is a bit of a non-factor, and it has been mentioned by the Dallas Cowboys media team, was about Dak not being in the hype video for 2021. You can read into it.
Smoke.
You can read into it as much as you want. Derek Eagleton has come out, spoken and said it was an oversight and they do apologise. I mean, say what you want about it. To me, yeah. But okay then. Apart from that as well, the Bucks won the Super Bowl. Very interesting game.
Super Bowl.
I'll tell you
the O-line. The O-line. I was going to mention before the game, the O-line for the Chiefs looked bad.
Thank you, Mike.
Even though I publicly stated on the show that I thought when Jeff Reinbold was on, I thought the Chiefs were going to win, I changed my answer a couple of days before the game. And I commented on our fantastic sponsor. All right, sorry, there we go. Cowboys Experience's wee competition thing.
Yours is here, by the way, Rich.
Yep.
Yeah, I lived the closest, and I still haven't gotten it.
So I left the comment of thinking I don't know what the exact score is going to be, but I know the Bucks are going to win by 10 or more points. And
it was a blowout. No, but I don't think anyone saw that. I don't think anybody saw that.
I had a gut feeling, and it just happened just a couple of days before the game. I had a gut feeling that Brady was going to get his 7th ring. I really did, and you cannot say a bad thing about his performance, Brady. You could say about his performance in the boat party. To be fair, that was quite fun.
That was quite funny. He looked absolutely wrecked.
Oh man, I tell you one thing, and it just makes you realize how much of a strict rule is it like in New England, and for Tom Brady to actually feel like he's actually kind of been more out there now. No one's ever seen
videos of it as well. There was the one where he threw the trophy across, but then someone on the other boat was stood behind.
I think Austin was the only one in our show that said he think the Bucks would win. I think so. Congrats to you, my friend.
Well done.
I think you did. I think you're right.
Give yourself a pat on the back and a BZ.
Let's get into this then, guys, because this is extremely important. Let's look at the 10th pick. Now, we'll break it down in each episode even further and further and further again. But this episode is only looking at the quarterbacks for two reasons. The first reason we've already spoken about, which is Dak Prescott's contract. Now, everything that we speak about from this episode, really not this episode, but the next following, so episode 103 onwards, is completely moo if Dak doesn't get his big contract signed. The first reason being, which I've had a look at, is if you're going into the draft this year and Dak is only on a franchise tag, you have questions at quarterback long term. Pretty much
100%.
that's the case over and out. Done. You have to take a quarterback this year, that being the case, right? Two reasons. One, you can't have questions. And two, next year's quarterback class is not very good at all. I mean, it's the complete opposite of this year. I mean, you've got two guys you can really talk about, and that's it. So really, the heat is on at this point of going forward. Now, if, of course, that gets a long-term contract between now and then, that makes this episode pointless. But it's got to be covered. So first of all, guys, who's in agreement that at minimum 3 quarterbacks are going to go in the first 10 picks? We'll say first 9 because that was the 10th pick.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Okay. I say there is a possibility that 5 actually could go. That would be pretty crazy, but there are 5. So we've all looked into this.
I've got 5 in the top 15 in my mock.
Yeah. I mean, my top 5, I got 1, 2, 3, which is 5. 5 could very possibly go. Obviously, that would be a team trading up, somebody like the 49ers or the Patriots. I could see trying to get ahead. You don't even know, mind you, what the Eagles are going to do with the minefield that is. Yeah, their cap space and all the rest of it. And we should have put it in the news and updates. They are trying to ship Carson Wentz.
Yeah. Who's going to...
What a shame.
That's a nah question, right? So, right, there's now talk about Russell Wilson now maybe going.
Yeah, that was
announced today.
Rumor going wrong.
Right? So you've got Russell Wilson, Carson Wentz, and Deshaun Watson are potentially looking for new teams to be traded. I mean, what is going on?
Not even just he's looking. Not even just he's looking. It was Cowboys.
Yeah. So the heat is on, as we say, that by, I think, really, I say April is your limit. If it's not done by April, that means it's been 2 years. And if it's not going to be done in 2 years, it's not going to be done in the next 2 weeks, which would be, for the draft, which, by the way, big news on that coming up very shortly. But let's first of all, right, guys, we'll break it down into the top 5 guys that are going, and then we'll look at the draft rankings, if you like. So, first of all, the number one quarterback consensus at the moment, who is one of Paul's favourite players coming out in the draft this year, is Trevor Lawrence. Right, we do have to talk about him because obviously he's the number one quarterback, but Paul is not happy. First of all, let's get Paul's take. Paul doesn't want to talk about him.
No,
I want to give you what is it that puts you off about Trevor Lawrence, and then we'll go through everything amicably.
I think he's going to be a big, massive failure. I really do.
Explain. Reiterate.
I just think the pressure's going to be too much for him. Like, just the way how he's been conducting himself for college, the way it's going to be into the post is going to get even worse. I mean, we've seen this from number 1 overall draft picks. Look, take Jameis Winston, for example. Mind all the hype and gossip all about him when he was at the Seminoles all these years ago. Yeah. Look at him now. I can see that exactly happening to him. Everyone keeps saying, he's going to be a once-in-a-generation quarterback. How many times have we heard that over the past 6-7 years with regards to all these number 1 overall quarterbacks? I'm sick of it, right? There's been quarterbacks being drafted later in the fucking round. They've actually turned out to be better. For example, Lamar Jackson. There we go. You know what I mean? So it means absolutely jack shit. Me personally, I think he's going to be a big, massive failure. End of story.
Okay. Well, I mean, one of the guys who was also touted many moons ago as being a generational changing is what Trevor Lawrence is comparison to. And a lot of people are saying it, and you can see it. And that's Andrew Luck. And Andrew Luck, obviously, you can say what you want about Andrew Luck, but his issues were more with his offensive line just being soggy paper bags and just getting him crushed.
But can bloody Sunshine take a bloody hit like Andrew Luck? I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing you've got to look at with Trevor Lawrence is his size.
Too busy playing about with his fucking locks, no doubt.
But I mean, look, with Trevor Lawrence, it's his size and his measurables. He's big, he's tall, big hands, and he's extremely mobile. But what you watch is his footwork. Insanely perfect in terms of how he uses his feet and his legs within the pocket and to escape. Just watch a YouTube video and watch him move into his left, Paul, and watch how he makes the off-platform throw move into his left. Because for a right-handed quarterback, that's the more harder throw to make, and he makes them every time. Out of structure and his pre-snap and his leadership are both brilliant. But one thing I will tell you, there is one of the issues he's got is he's only a half-field read quarterback. Is first of all, he does lock onto his first read, but he's a half-read guy. One of the things Justin Fields, which he's better at than
I agree.
Justin Fields is better at it than Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, is that although Trevor Lawrence does, Justin Fields will do it. He will lock onto his first read. Watch what they both do in 7-step drops. In a 7-step drop, Lawrence won't go through his reads, but Justin Fields will. And I think in the NFL, that's more translatable. Both are really good. But, yeah, with Trevor Lawrence, he does take a lot of sacks because he gets sticky in the pocket. You watch, he plants that foot, and he's hopping in the pocket. He takes a lot of sacks because of it. But the big one for me that is kind of worrying is his deep pass consistency. If you watch it, sometimes on the deep passes, he can be inconsistent. And then the big one, which is cropped up, is he's having shoulder surgery next week. But it's his non-throwing arm.
But a lot of people said Dak can throw a deep ball, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, have you got to take Jamie on Trevor Lawrence on Sunshine? What have you got?
It's been slam dunk for months, and he's going to go number 1 overall. Like you said,
yeah,
he seems to get a team to rally around him. So for me, it's not what the Jags do. It's that. Let's just tick that pick off because the Jags are going to take him. There's no way on earth they're going to pass on him. I think if Justin Fields would have had a better national championship game, then I think this would have gone a bit more to the wire. But it's all about what the Jets do now at number 2.
Yeah. And is this a concern then for, you, Paul, and Rich, that Trevor Lawrence, like you're saying that you've got a gut feeling he's going to be a flop? Is it more that he's going to go to the Jags?
I don't know, mate. I don't know. I mean, when we say Sunshine, I refer Trevor Lawrence as the quarterback from the replacements. That cocky arsehole from the replacements who's literally just there for the money, pretty much. That's the way I can envision Trevor Lawrence. And I understand the Sunshine reference, but sorry, what was the original question, Mike?
that you said that you've got a gut feeling he's going to flop. Yeah. Is that because that he's going to be going to the Jags?
I don't think it's necessarily because unless he goes to the Colts, then that might change my mind. But that's not going to happen.
Do you know that? I think sometimes, I'm not disagreeing with Paul, but I think sometimes because he seems to have this kind of this rough kind of won't say so much physique, but like you see there, he always looks serious and never looks like he smiles. But when you actually listen to him talking, he seems really soft spoken and a bit of an approachable guy. I just don't know. Like I say,
He's very intelligent. You listen to his interviews. You listen to his interviews, like you say, yeah, and he's quite intelligent when he's speaking, and articulate. But I mean, Rich, have you got a take on Trevor Lawrence, or should we move on to the JF?
I haven't looked at quarterbacks really that much at all.
Okay.
I'm leaning more towards. I'll preempt with that, but I'm leaning more towards Paul's way of thinking. I don't like quarterbacks.
Due to pressure?
I can't trust a quarterback that can't go through his reads.
He does. Sometimes he gets stuck. You can see he gets stuck in two different places. Usually on his half-field reads, and the other one is in the pocket. He gets sticky feet sometimes, and you see that in his sacks. And you just got to look at the sack numbers, and you'll see it.
Which is great. So it's like, he's not escaping the pocket if his number one and two options are gone.
Oh,
or his safety valve's gone, like we saw with certain safety valve that was taken away the other night by a defense. Someone all of a sudden couldn't do anything. Oh, and there's accuracy issues in terms of the deep ball. None of that adds up very well. Now I know that's a bit of a perfect storm, but there's no great quarterbacks in the league that are inconsistent with how often they go through reads, and you don't want someone like that in a situation where pressure's coming. You're going down to win a ball game. It's been a tough game all night, and they're probably going to get to you. You don't want someone that is potentially going to struggle to go through their reads and find someone that's open.
He doesn't all the time, but he does get locked on sometimes. But you can't dismiss his mobility. He will. I know you mentioned that, there's just occasions where he gets sticky feet in the pocket, but he is amazing in his mobility, and he catches defensive tackles off many times with his feet.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, though.
Really good at it.
This is going to be a rare thing for me to say. Is I'm actually going to give him a compliment. I'm going to give Trevor Lawrence a compliment for the 10 games he's played this year in college football than the normal, more than usual. He still managed over 3,100 yards.
Yeah. And he got better. So, like, his freshman year, he was great. So, like, last year, then, he stepped it back up in those 10 games again last season. But it was really his sophomore year. He was trying to make throws into windows that weren't there. And you saw it towards the end of the season where I think somebody must have told him, he said, look, try and calm it down a bit. Those windows aren't there. But let's move on to the next guy. A guy who I was talking about many years ago is Justin Fields. I'm going to run a list with you, right, of 3 players. Tell me, right, if these are good quarterbacks. Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, Pat Mahomes. Are they any good?
They're all right.
Two of them are arguably great. Not saying Kyler Murray won't, because he looks the real deal, right? But two of those, great.
Well, those 3 quarterbacks all have the same thing in common as Justin Fields. And that thing in common? Baseball. They all play baseball at a high level in college. And for me, that's a big thing for quarterbacks. If they play, because throwing the ball pinpoint and accurately is a big thing in baseball. And you see that with these 3 quarterbacks. And this is what Justin Fields has got. What do you reckon, guys?
I can't dispute that. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's an interesting statistic.
In the tape, innit?
Yeah. It's something that I don't even think anybody, like, scout-wise has pointed that out yet, but it's something that I have noticed. I mean, Kyler Murray, in fact, was it the Oakland A's he was going to go play for?
He got drafted in.
And then there was the dispute.
The Cardinals maybe signed the deal, didn't they, to say that he couldn't change his mind and go play baseball.
Yeah, basically. So, yeah, I mean, that's a big thing. Now, Justin Fields, he's a dual threat quarterback. For me, we're not going to see the combine, but I reckon this guy, he's a 4.40. That's how quick I think he is. He's not a Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson's next level again. But what is different with him is his vision as a runner. I would say he's got better vision than Lamar Jackson. But just to give you an idea, this guy's thrown 41 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. And that's in the Big Ten.
Just to kind of go back to you saying he's 40 time, and I think Jeff hit the nail on the head. Really, what does that really matter? And the only reason I say that is Tom Brady run 5.3 on his 40 all those years ago. The good thing about Justin Fields, he's got an arm, like I say. So, but it's just does the 40 time really matter? If he's got a good arm and and he can move a little bit around the pocket, then as long as he's got the arm to get out of it, then he can run a 7.40 for me. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I would rather have a quarterback, if they're going to run, I would rather have a mobile quarterback that can take hits if they're going to go and do that, rather than them be quick, because it's going to happen. When they run, they're going to get hit at some point, and if they can't take a hit when they're classed as a runner, they are screwed.
Well, funnily enough, my big negative, my big weakness for Justin Fields, and I have it written in big, bold writing with an exclamation mark, is slide. This guy needs to learn to slide. Because he's a runner, and you don't see it often. He takes some hits.
Like Tim made a really good point here. Like, I know we're talking about Justin Fields, but see, like, in terms of these type of style of quarterbacks that are runners and stuff like that, the longevity is a lot shorter than a pocket passer. That is a fact.
Yes, it is true.
Like,
it is true.
Like, I think the only pocket pass I can think of that actually had a short retirement recently is obviously Andrew Luck. But that's when you don't have a decent O-line to protect you at the time.
Yeah.
It was the same with Romo. Mm-hmm. Like Romo could have been still playing if he had a better O-line all those years ago.
Probably.
But it's going to take like say 6 years playing in the NFL. You're going to start to slow down. Like you're going to see Kyler Murray slow down potentially. Mm-hmm. He's like him being a pocket pass on a big O-line. He's not going to be able to move in and out the way he used to. Lamar Jackson's going to be the same. He's going to have to start throwing the ball a lot more, or hand it off to someone else. Yeah. Like just to be like have that longevity. So, and I can see that being like if that's the only downside to Justin Fields is how long are we going to have him for?
Like, it's the sliding. If he learns to slide.
It's not so much about the sliding though. It's just in general in terms of these type of quarterbacks that've had the baseball who like to run outside the pocket all the time. It's just that
take that long hit that
that one hit like RG3 is a prime example of that. Like that one hit
Dak Prescott.
Like I don't see Dak becoming much of a run anymore. He's trying to start relying more on Zeke and Tony Pollard going forward and stuff like that. But that's
I mean, just to put like an idea in your head for people who haven't seen Justin Fields play. A lot of people are saying he's like Cam Newton, but I don't like that. I'd say he's more like Deshaun Watson. And only people are saying Cam Newton is because he runs a lot and he has the deep pass. But I say he's more like Deshaun Watson when you watch him play. You watch him and you go, that's Deshaun. And that a guy who we've spoken about already. Because he is throw on the run.
Sorry. How long did you have him potentially going number one overall? Like, kind of, where did it fall away for you? Like I say, for me, it was probably just the natty game that just kind of then it just seemed a little bit of a big game. If you know what I mean. Not saying he's going to be a crap NFL quarterback. Because I think he'll be a good one. Like I say, it was just. Probably up to the natty. I was split between him and Lawrence going up first overall, and after the natty,
I really was back and forth with it. Like even now, I'm back and forth with it. Like who's the number one quarterback? But I'll stick with Trevor Lawrence purely on the basis of that he's won the big game, and one of the biggest knocks on Justin Fields is his composure. That he can lose composure, and you've seen that. And you talked about the natty, prime example, but you see it in other games as well. And another big one as well is reading safeties. And in the NFL, that's going to get him unstuck. He needs to be checking off those safeties. He needs to be seeing what they're doing in his pre-snap read, because that's what gets him caught out. But he is a dual threat. So, I think dual threats in the NFL are really important, because to get them used to the speed of the game, it's very handy that they can use their legs, because it provides them that year of learning. Because you see it a lot. You see a lot of these, like Josh Allen is a good example. He spent the first year running around everywhere until they figured out how to use him a bit better. And this year, you're seeing that progression from him, because he's starting to get a feel for the game in the NFL level. But
I see what you're saying, mate, but in a way I can disagree at the same time. Like, I'm kind of neutral about it. Like, I'm just thinking in terms of Ben Roethlisberger in this instance.
Yeah.
It's like the guy has zero mobility in the world.
Agree. Mm-hmm.
Right. And he came in as a rookie and he was probably much the best out of those quarterbacks that came out this year. Well, I'm trying to remember. So there was Eli. Who was the other quarterbacks that came out that year?
Philip Rivers came out that year.
I was just about to say.
So Philip Rivers, again, he's not really much of a mobile quarterback, but he slotted into San Diego and helped change that franchise for so many years.
The only issue I have with the runners, and Paul touched on it a bit earlier, like say the RG3 one, if he balls out in, because you get, obviously that's why it's tempting as well to take a QB in the first round now, because you get that 5th-year option.
Yes, that too.
If he balls out and then he wants all this money, and you look at the deals that are going on now, you're looking at 38, 39. Do you really want your mobile quarterback outside the pocket taking those kind of hits when you're paying him $40 million a year?
Yeah. And just to I'm going to counteract my own argument here. See, for Joe Burrow, see if he is pretty much more known as a pocket passer. Am I right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. We saw what happened when you don't actually have an O-line and you're not much of a runner, so to speak. You can't avoid getting hit like that. So that there's no yes or no. There's no best way of doing it. It just really depends. Do you have a good O-line? Then get more of a pocket passer. If you don't, you might be better going with a runner. It just really depends on what you've got in front of you. That's all I'm trying to say. So it depends who. So when it comes to this draft, when it comes to Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence, it needs to suit what they've already got in front of them. Like the player needs to
but also in terms of that, you can go back and forth on. It's like what comes first, the chicken or the egg? So do you take a quarterback first, let him develop for a couple of years while you build an O-line up, or do you build your O-line up, then put in your quarterback? So it's kind of like which way or the other,
There's so much trial and error over the years, not just with us as the Cowboys, but with all the other teams out there. I mean, when you really do think about it, like when you take Tony Romo, for instance, how many years did we neglect our offensive line when we actually had a pure pocket passer? So many years, and it wasn't until it was too late. That was it.
Yeah.
So.
All right, let's move on to the next guy, quarterback number 3, right? So really, you've got tiers here. Lawrence and Fields, I would say, are in a tier of their own. They're tier 1. The next 2 are tier 2. So he was a bit of an unsung hero, but the next 2, I've got issues with, and it's a bad move to make when you're scouting, but it is something you have to look at. Is statistics, right? Take traits over statistics. But the next guy is, as on screen, BYU, Zach Wilson. Any of you guys got a take on him? I have a huge take on Zach Wilson, but you guys got anything?
I'm perfectly honest with you, Mike. The only 2 I do know is obviously the ones we were just talking about. So you need to fill in, because like I said, mate, when it comes to college football, I don't really pay much attention to it unless it's on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, well, luckily enough, we'll be doing defense soon, mate. So the
schools he's played for a small. You could argue compared to Trevor Lawrence and just because he played for a small school.
And it's not just him playing for a small school. It's the competition he faces. Yeah, that he's facing guys. Like
player as well, couldn't you?
Yeah,
Sorry.
like he's in the independent playing teams like the Navy. Who aren't a huge team.
That's a fair point, Tim. That's a fair point. That's corrected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the big one for me was Zach Wilson. Is he beats the first two guys, Lawrence and Fields, over them in terms of his instincts. As an instinctual player, this guy is the best in his class. He just has pure instincts. His vision downfield, his eyes are always looking downfield. He's manipulating the pocket. Plus, he has some good mobility, but his pass accuracy in terms of, like, especially short and intermediate passes, this guy is the best.
Dink and dunk.
Dink and dunk. BYU pro style offense. It is. I worry about the BYU style of game, because what it does is the BYU style of game kind of, as it always is, makes the quarterback more of a game manager. It makes a lot of forced throws as well, intermediate forced throws. Just because that's the BYU style, and that's why, I
kind of sense you're arguing against the player himself, Zach Wilson.
No, it's a weird one, because you can say he makes a lot of forced throws is one of the knocks against Zach Wilson, and I say that it's more of the style that style kind of forces him to make those weird throws, but his poise and patience in the pocket is probably the best. As I put on it, elusive, mobile, in and out of the pocket. And if you have a guy one-on-one in man coverage, he's going to find that guy on the field every time because of his instincts. He just instinctually knows where to find these guys. But as I say, the big issue with him, and there's two massive issues, is the first one is injuries, which is the first one. And Jamie already mentioned one as well, is small school and against some small school talent. The issues, though, is injuries. He's had surgery on his hand, and this is his throwing hand, and on his shoulder. Try and get that word out. He has had those big injuries. And another one as well has popped up that I wasn't aware of until a couple of weeks ago, is he's hugely religious, and the religion he follows might require him to go off on one of the, I don't want to do some religious podcast here, but he could be going on some religious sort
mission?
of mission.
On a mission.
Is that a little bit like what Tebow was? Tebow was a bit like that.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah, it's pretty much going to be Tim Tebow over again. Yeah.
I don't know. Unfortunately, I'm not there in the interviews but I'm sure they're going to ask him that question.
I'm not going to disregard anyone's religion, but isn't football religion?
No. Football is a religion. It's my religion anyway.
I stand.
What do you? Because obviously, when they were getting up to the end of the season, and obviously COVID kind of knocked the schedule around a little bit, and there was all this. Because BYU had a great year for BYU standards, and
yes, they did.
I think they were due to play.
That's true. Actually, that's a good point.
Go on, Jay.
I think they were thinking about them. There was all this talk of BYU, if they really wanted to have a good push at getting in the college football plus, they should have taken the matchup against Washington.
They do need a big.
They took on Coastal Carolina and got their asses handed, but kind of building up to that game.
Yeah,
Zach Wilson had the bandana on, and it was it something along the lines of any time, anywhere, and do you think, is he a little bit cocksure of himself?
When
they're not that they weren't playing a massive standard. I mean, it's like they weren't playing the types of Clemson and Bama and and you think, were you really cocksure of yourself? And is that what a lot of people maybe don't want as a quarterback?
Yeah, and like it's funny that you bring it up. That okay, you can call Coastal Carolina a small team as they are. They had an absolutely me and you, Jamie, were talking about it. Yeah, it was a great season for them, but that was like for BYU, Zach Wilson, and like you got to bear in mind in 2019. In 2019, he had a bad year. Then all of a sudden he has this big year this year. But the one team they did play that was good, they lost against.
Like I say, and Coastal Carolina, yeah, just made him look stupid.
Yeah, it was an insane game to watch. But he is good. Watch him on timing routes, especially breaking on the outside, hits them every time. Downfield passing again is a bit of an issue, and a big one for me is that he seems to take. If you ever watch when he's passing through the pocket, and go back and watch it, you'll see him take this big step forward for some reason that's like out of time in his mechanics. There's this big step forward, and then he sort of rotates the rest of his body. So what ends up happening is a lot of his throws come from his upper body rather than, like how it's supposed to be all torqued, and then you just release it all in one through motion. It doesn't sit, and it all comes from this weird step forward that he makes. And obviously with, being, if you're making throws with your upper body, you need to have a lot of velocity on him, but you lose consistency and accuracy through it. And that's what you do see with him. It's more of his release that is affected from this weird throwing motion. But
he is. When you think about release, he must have learned it from Philip Rivers. His release is stupid.
It's kind of. It's crazy. It's not that his mechanics are bad. It's just unorthodox. Is the best way to describe it. That's
probably the best word for it. Is unorthodox. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, and I think that if you tidy up that base with his feet and the step and the legs, the rest will all come flowing.
Sam's coachable.
It is. It's coachable.
Well, like
but
all
it's
of
just
this,
one of them.
He has the instincts. He's coachable guy.
Yeah, and as DJ Dog, as I mentioned at the start, in terms of his throwing, his arm talent, he is the best. Let's move on to the next guy, which is extremely controversial, because I don't understand personally. I do understand, but I'm not as high on him. The next guy is Trey Lance from North Dakota State. Now, this guy, I have him comped as Ryan Tannehill, right? And I know you think because Texas A&M, etc., nothing to do with that. But he does look like him. Pro style offense, but his body size and his body shape is absolutely prototypical. Very, like the older, more old school style quarterback, the body type, the tall, lanky, big guys. Yeah. That's what he looks like. Mobile is what I put down. The first thing is mobile. I just want to, though, before we go into anything, and everybody watching at home, if you want to look at Trey Lance, what the issues are, is just type in, and bear in mind he's FCS playing at North Dakota State. Just type in his stats. Look at his last game and look at the game before that. So the game before, so his last game, I think I'm just going off memory, so I might be a little bit off. I think he had 31 attempts for 15 completions, and I think it was like 110 yards, right? After that, he went, but that's it. No, I'm not doing it. I'm opting out for the rest of the season. The game before that, which was the FCS Championship final, he made 9 attempts for 7 completions and 79 yards. As a passer, I worry about this guy. Like his average yards per game, if you take away, like, I think there's like 2 games where he throws for more than 200 yards. You take them away, his average yards per game are like 150 yards.
No. It's a small school again. Small school.
And this guy, now you can say what you want, that the guy, at the end of the day, he's a quarterback at the FCS. So he's throwing to wide receivers who are like accountants and, painters and decorators and carpenters. So you have to take that into account too. But he is absolutely a beast when it comes to the ground. Where I say my issue with him is stats as a passer, look at his stats as a runner. They're the complete opposite. This guy is just running like 200 yards and 3 touchdowns every game. It's insane when you look at it. But I just...
But you don't want to running back, you want a quarterback, don't you?
It's such a worry.
The only other issue I potentially have with that is if the Cowboys are not sold on Dak, he will be there at 10. So
this is where it's
the Cowboys,
and this is where it's all coming to. Because bear in mind, right, what you've got to look at is this guy is mobile and he has a lot of velocity on his passes. In the zone read, absolutely perfect. The options that he can give offensive coordinators because of the zone read options that he can give are absolutely unsurmountable. It's insane. He's really calm in the pocket. And although he has this insane mobility to move out, he's not one of these guys who's like, oh, it's not there, I'm just going to run. Or, the pocket might be collapsing, I'm going to bail out. He doesn't. He will try and stay in there for as long. Sometimes you're watching it like, okay, move out, and you're saying it, and he's not doing it. He's just staying calm. He's bouncing in the pocket. He's looking for that pass, and it is anticipation as well. Even when he's on the move, like his lower body is just completely in sync. You can see it. The arm and the leg angles are just all perfect. But my issues are, the biggest one is play time. He's literally played like 16 games in his entire season, his entire collegiate career.
This is
not
a guy
much at all.
This sounds like a guy that someone's going to stick him on a bench for a couple of years. Or that's what they should do. Stick him on the bench for a couple of years, learn behind someone, and then take over. That's what should happen with this guy by the sound of it. Yeah,
he definitely needs a year back. And as we were saying, like Jamie said, that if we haven't got Dak sorted, this guy is available at number 10. This is the sort of guy that they're going to take. It will be that guy. Like, the best way to describe, because he does this, it's more North Dakota State's style of coaching and playing. That the first thing you'll watch, right, and all you got to do is watch a little bit of football, and you'll be like, he stands with like this really wide base, so his feet are really far apart, and it's only because he's trying to hold into the pocket for so long, and like to hold off against sacks, against tackles. You see that a lot. Where he's got this wide base, but what it can do is it can. The best way to describe his passing is he's accurate but not precise because of that wide base that he's got. Yeah, that's the best way to describe it. But then let's move on to the next guy. You can include Kyle Trask here if you really want to. I don't, because I've got issues with him translating to the NFL. The next guy, I've got some issues, but yeah, DJ Dog, completely agreeing with you, Rich. That Lance, he's the sort of guy that you draft, you stash him down, you try and develop him into something. As they say, though, elevate, don't create. The next guy, though, is this year's college football championship winner, Mr. Mac Jones from Alabama. Now, you've got to be living under a rock as well if you don't know who this guy is. Jamie, I know you were watching the college football championship final with me very early in the morning here in the UK. What's your first take on Mac Jones?
Well, before I even give you my take, I'll just say Brian's going to kill me for this comment, but this guy's my favourite QB in the draft.
I can see why.
My favourite QB.
I can just imagine it now, just like, oh, Jamie, what you doing?
I just think myself, and not a knock on any of the 4 guys that we've mentioned before, but
sure.
Maybe this is just because Mac Jones played for arguably the greatest college football team today. So his story is a lot more out there, but he's had a few trials and tribulations while he's been at Bama. He went there and he was tipped to be the next best thing, and he lost his job. And then obviously the guy, I can't remember what the guy who was going to take his place next year, that came in as a 5-star recruit, and they were like, this guy's going to take his position, and he was like, pretty much, fuck you, this is not happening, this is my team.
Knew it.
So I didn't have, cheers, Brian. And pulled his socks up, put his head down, won the natty for Bama, and he can make the throws. He's got a really good arm, and like I say, it's just the whole story of it. That's why he's my favourite player. Favourite QB and stuff as well.
Sorry, Jake, not laughing at these comments coming in at absolute class.
Oh, what a legend of a man!
But here's Mac Jones, right? So Tua in 2019, we all know Tua living under a rock again. If you don't know who he is, he got injured in the last 3 games with a nasty hip injury. Oh, it's disgusting to watch. Mac comes in for the last 3 games, does absolutely fine. Tyler is going to be the starter for 2020, does it. We all know the results, right? The guy is smart. He's a quick processor, very, very quick. Great leader, pocket presence, A++. Best in the class in terms of anticipation throws and ball placement consistency on short and intermediate passes. Watch him do that, bob on. And one of the things he really does that I was impressed with is throw in wide receivers open. But that also comes with a negative. He's throwing wide receivers open because of the type of wide receivers he has. He's got a Heisman winning wide receiver and another wide receiver that's going to go in the top 10. He also was thrown the year before with 2 other guys that we know about that went in the first round as well. So
I think
there is.
If he knocks, I can't see him potentially going to the Cowboys. But if the Cowboys were, look, we're going to take a QB in the first round, and more so, like I said, because of this Dak doesn't get done, and also you've got the 5th-year option.
Yeah,
I would prefer him to go for Mac Jones, but trade back a little bit because you could probably get him around 14, 15 and take him that way rather than sit at 10 and maybe reach. Yeah. I think you get him at 14, 15.
I agree, Jimmy. I think we can still get a quarterback if we traded down 5 or 6 places down. If that was the case, because what Paul Tarhill, is that how you pronounce your name? Sorry, I do apologise. If they don't sign Dak by the draft, then you have to take a QB in the first round. Not necessarily.
Yeah,
We could still get a decent quarterback in the second round. Who knows? Like
your second round quarterbacks, I think are.
Dak's a 4th rounder. Like I said, Mike. Like I said, the draft.
Yeah, but Dak shouldn't have been a 4th rounder. The only reason Dak was a 4th rounder was
of luck.
That was because of a DUI. Dak got a DUI, and then that just dropped his draft stock. Okay,
then.
He's struggling on a few things.
Right, okay then. Okay, Tom Brady, 6th round. What about that?
I know, yeah.
Right, like you see
I understand.
Right.
I think what makes it more intriguing to take a QB is, like I say, because you get that 5th round option now.
Right,
so you don't have to. Listen, you have to be in that situation that we've now living with Dak. That's
right,
that's what
right,
do you know what I mean?
Right, sorry guys. I've got a list here. It says, what do all these QBs have in common? And I'm going to read the names out. Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes, Ryan Tannehill, Russell Wilson, Josh Allen, Dak Prescott, Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, and Drew Brees. What do they all have in common?
They have arms.
They've all been picked outside the top 10. Yeah. Sorry, the top 5. But that just comes to show, like, Brees was a 2nd rounder, was he not?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
there is a difference, though, a big difference between the likelihood of hitting on someone in the top 4, perceived difference in hitting on someone in the top 5, Tony Romo. That's a bit unfair because he was undrafted, but anyway. But there is a big difference. That's the reason you take quarterbacks high, is not just because the 5th-year option is perceived higher chance of hitting on them, not just them being there because they're the biggest commodity in the sport. Is it possible to take a good quarterback in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th undrafted? Yes, of course it is. It happens all the time, but it is less likely.
Yeah, it's all about reduced chance.
Be less likely. Exactly, and that's all it is. At the end of the day, quarterback is a crapshoot. It really is.
Yeah. And for Mac Jones, my best comp for Mac Jones is a guy we already have spoken about as well. A lot of people are saying Tom Brady. I quite don't like that. I say he's more like Phillip Rivers because he's got a bit more mobility to him. He's a great pocket passer, as we said. One of the things he does have issue with is he does sometimes fade from phantom pressure. You do see that a lot. But my big one is he gets lazy with his base, so he throws flat-footed. He is he's slight body-wise. If you look at him, he looks weedy for quarterback, if that makes sense.
I can answer that for you right now, Brian. It was Russell Wilson.
Yeah, he was taken in the 5th, wasn't he? Russell Wilson.
No, I think it was like 3rd round, was it not?
No, yeah, he was for the 4th. Yeah, he was for the 4th.
Google it. I think he's deeper. I think it was 5th. Is one. But another one is that he needs a clean pocket, like one of the P's, if you like, that he needs.
Yeah.
Don't trust him in Dallas. He won't get one of them.
It was 3rd round, 75th overall.
There we go. He does need it so he can get himself a steady base because he doesn't have a big arm in terms of arm muscle and definition. He needs to have a clean pocket to get a steady base so he can untorque himself to put velocity on the ball. And one of the ones I put is I think what he really needs is playmakers. If he's on a team without playmakers, he's going to struggle. And because the only reason I'm saying that is you haven't seen him play without one. You've seen him play with 3 really huge playmakers in Alabama. So you've got to say that the only way he wins is with playmakers. But that's what we have.
You've just talked then as the Cowboys being the ideal fit for him, and also probably the worst fit for him because shitloads of playmakers
because of the line.
He just won't have no protection with it.
But when you look at it, really, what we're looking at, why we made the quarterback show is one, to look at the top 5 quarterbacks, but also when you break it down and you look at it, I would say when you look at teams that are quarterback needy as well, there are a lot of quarterback needy teams this year, not just in the top 10, but outside of it. That I truly believe.
I noted down 15 teams that potentially could need a QB and 8 that could potentially take one in the 1st round.
Yeah, and Dallas could be one of them. So when you look at it and you break it down that way, what you've got to do is you've got to say, let's say there's 5 quarterbacks going in the top 10, right? Because teams are going to, once those quarterbacks start coming off, like 3 are certainly going to come off, the top 3. They're gone. I reckon they're gone in the first 5. Once that happens, teams are going to get itchy feet and start panicking and want to trade up. Like DJ Dog, we were going to talk about Trask, but I've got issues with Trask where I worry about how his traits translate to the NFL. I think he's better as a backup and continues his career as a backup because of that. He's got a great touch pass that are outside the numbers, but is that going to work in the NFL against NFL corners? I can't see it. I think corners are going to be too easy to see that. But when you look at it this way, right, guys, that if you was to say, if we get into the rankings here a minute, into my top 10 rankings, that I've got 3 of the quarterbacks in my top 10 rankings, right? So that means another 2 are going to come out of position to come up into 10, right?
Uh-huh.
That means that you've got 5. Right. You got
Right.
5. Yeah. You've got top. You've really got in your top 5. You've got then, because you imagine if you're taking quarterbacks, and we're going to say into this particular argument's sakes, the Cowboys aren't going to take a quarterback. They get Dak signed, job done, right?
Okay.
So then you've got to look at the rest of the talent that drops down from that. So you've got the likes of Penei Sewell, Jamarte Chase, Devontae Smith, Kyle Pitts. I know that's a controversial conversation. Christian Darrisaw, that is an option. Caleb Farley, Patrick Surtain. What is going on with me tonight? I know. Patrick Surtain, Micah Parsons, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, Kwity Paye, and Rashawn Slater. You could even, if you wanted to, chuck in Vera Tucker as well. Those options are now all available to you, right? From that, like if you've got 5, you've got 4 that are going to come away from that. I say 2 of those guys are going to be wide receivers, and I see the Eagles taking Kyle Pitts because they're just so stuffed that they will take Kyle Pitts before us. So then really, if you look at it, there's a lot of talent available to you right at the very top. Like, the options are unsurmountable at that point. And bear in mind, you could still, if you wanted to, if there was an availability there, you could bite the bullet and try and take a quarterback. So my conversation on this now, which I'm going to leave you guys to talk about, is if you're taking 5 quarterbacks and 2 wide receivers and Kyle Pitts in the top 10, that's 8 picks. Have a look at the talent available to you and say, if I want to take a top talent,
one more name to that. Sorry,
Go
on.
Can we change it to 9? Because there's no way Sewell.
I was just about to say that.
There's no way he drops to 9. There's no way.
There is a possibility. There is a possibility. Why would they not?
It's funny enough.
I think someone was trade up for him.
It's funny enough that you mentioned it, Jamie. There's been a few mock drafts by NFL experts thinking that Penei Sewell might actually make it to number 10.
I can see it.
Yeah, there has been quite a few of them. I think there's been at least 5 mock drafts based on.
And I guarantee you, those mock drafts have 4 or 5 quarterbacks going in the top 10 and 2 wide receivers and Kyle Pitts. Yeah. There you go. That's why we're doing this show. To show you that this is why. Go on.
If those mocks are true, then that literally that card needs to go in within 30 seconds of us being on the clock.
Yeah, literally, if Penei Sewell is there at number 10,
that's a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer. That should be number like that. That should be like that would definitely help our O-line. It would help.
We're using 8 minutes to slap each other on the back, talk shit, and get people on the phone and get some behind-the-scenes audio going on. Because that's all you're doing for 8-9 minutes. Because you've already written the card and just gone, okay, cool. Yeah, we'll just relax now.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things you've got to look at as well that I think nearly every NFL team is looking is look at what happened to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl when they lost 2 of their starting offensive line.
That's exactly what I wanted to bring up.
I do agree.
You hit me.
I do agree, dog. Sorry, I do agree, but who knows? Anything can happen. Anything can happen.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the reason it's the draft, so anything can happen. But the reason that we're bringing up,
number 1 overall, anything can happen.
I
mean, it's a lot.
Kyle Trask could go as the 6th quarterback, which would be insane.
I mean, we never thought Baker Mayfield would have been a number 1 overall, for example.
Totally.
But I know, Rich, you was going to try and hit us with a little something there about the Chiefs and the offensive line.
Yeah. So a lot of people, for good reason, sign up to the whole thing of defense wins championships. And it does.
Yes.
But if you have a good offensive line, you can weather that storm.
Yeah.
Now, when you're down, people have made a lot of criticism of Dak Prescott, rightly so, you'd say. said Patrick Mahomes is insurmountable. Look at what he was like when he didn't have two starting offensive linemen.
Exactly. He had his backup. He had a backup tackle and a backup guard who moved over. Like, I can't remember how it worked out, but basically they had two starters. Was going. Eric Fisher was going, who has been an absolute rock for Kansas City, and we saw the difference in terms of the bull rush.
Yep.
From Tampa Bay going, they went after Mahomes like a dog eating beetroot.
I'm not being funny. We're talking about Jason Pierre-Paul here.
Yeah.
You know.
To be fair, we need to give him credit. He's revitalized his career.
Yeah, absolutely. He looks more like his old self. He really does. In fact, I'd argue maybe a little bit better. But it doesn't change the fact that, I will give it the caveat of people, his supporting cast wasn't, in terms of receivers and Kelsey, weren't doing what they should be doing.
Oh,
there was a lot of drop balls.
There was three players. There was three players.
There you go.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. So I got that wrong. So that's even more interesting when you look at and compare between us and the Cowboys.
And here's the thing, though, Rich. Do you know, like, Patrick Mahomes kind of looked like just like a normal quarterback because of that?
Yeah.
He
did indeed.
The way he was pressured, like he was out of his comfort zone. Like, we've never seen him like that. Like, it just comes to show that offensive line makes all the difference when it comes to how your quarterback is going to perform. And Dog just made a really good comment. Just when you think about it, look at the starters that we've not actually had all season. Right, we had Lyle Collins out for the whole season. Tyler Smith was pretty much out for the whole season. We lost Zach Martin for pretty much half the season, and we had a complete mix-up of centers and guards mixing in with the whole mixture of tackles. So, and not to mention, as a result of that, we've lost Andy Dalton for a concussion injury. We had Blaine Gabbert in, we had Ben DiNucci in, and also we lost that. So we went through four quarterbacks this year. So it comes to show the O-line is so fundamental. It's just foundations of football. You need a good O-line. You need a good O-line if you don't have a good QB. End of story.
Exactly. On both sides, football is won and lost 9 times out of 10 in the trenches.
Yeah, so
it really is.
And this kind of goes back to the part when I was talking about like Trevor Lawrence, right? All these teams that are pretty much in the top 10, they don't necessarily have the greatest O-lines at all. They don't. And this is why I think he's going to fail. If he was to get drafted by a mid-tier team, like, say, for example, the Colts, who do have a good, decent O-line, like the Pro Bowlers in that O-line, like, I think he could actually do well in that. And this is where I'm going to give, like, again, maybe some props to Sunshine, right? Or any QB that gets drafted by, like, the Colts or whoever on that, I think they're in a better position to be more successful than these, like, be an instant quarterback starter for these teams that are in the top 10.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
that's a valid point.
Because we saw that with Lamar Jackson. Like, the Ravens had a great O-line. He just slotted right in, gave him all the pass protection, he opened the gaps more, and he can actually run freely. There you go. If Lamar Jackson was picked in the top 10, we may be talking about a different story here when he had no O-line. Who knows?
If Sewell was there, just thinking of kind of devil's advocate a little bit, and we just say we can't rely on Smith's fitness whatsoever, and we just say let's just take him out of the equation. Would you rather just drop Sewell? If Sewell was there, you took him. Would you rather drop him straight in at left tackle, or would you rather drop him over to the right and move Lyle Collins over?
Yeah. Angela ruined, like, he was ruined by it's pretty much the same. That was due to the same scenario what we did with Tony Romo. The Colts did not invest in their O-line for years, and it wasn't until it was too late. And that's what in the year after, that's when Luck retired. Because who was the guard that the Colts drafted? The Pro Bowl guard. What's his name again?
Quentin Nelson.
That's the guy. He's completely transformed that O-line. Like, just single-handedly, that one player.
One player can change it all.
Exactly. Nelson.
Remind me, where would you play Sewell? Say we take him. Where do you plug him in on that line?
Left tackle. Easily left tackle.
What do you do with Tyron Smith?
Move him into guard.
That's interesting.
Chris, think about it. Think about this way. Right? So think about it this way. Offensive line are pretty much adaptive when you think about it. You can either play left side as it's pretty much playing one side as your preference, but you can still transition into from left guard to left tackle. Center, you're pretty much in a neutral stance, but if you're going from a different stance, like you have different foot forward from the other, that takes a little bit of getting used to because you're kick stepping with the weaker foot next time rather than your more powerful foot. So this is, and Brian just said it straight after left guard, and that seems to be the weakest point when it comes to the physicality side, I think. And this is no dig to Connor Williams. He's still getting pushed back at the ball. If we had like Tyron Smith for his size and physicality in there, where he could be more of a mauler, and think of it this way, like Lyle Collins, he was naturally a guard, then we pushed him out to right tackle. It's very easily to transition when you're in the same stance in that position, like on the left or right, from guard to tackle or tackle to guard on that same side. It's actually not as bad what people think. You just have a different assignment and two gaps to worry about. Well, you still do, obviously, with O-line going outside or inside, but you don't know what I mean. But with guard, you're a bit more menacing.
The O-line looks nasty as well, didn't it, when it had... and I say nasty in a good way, when Collins moved inside for a while, didn't it? And it looked like it shored that side up a little bit more for me.
Yeah.
But
okay, Lauren, here it is.
That's a good point.
Lauren
made a good point. Is Tyron not too tall for guard?
That's why I didn't like it.
This is why I would do the opposite.
Like the size. I didn't like the size issue. The size Tyrone for me is too big.
Yeah,
he's more of he's definitely a tackle build.
He's definitely a tackle, but it'll be harder for him to switch from left to right.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's totally different part of the game.
But at the same time, who knows to say like Tyron Smith might retire? Who knows? Because we don't know if you're going to ever get 3 games out of him a season. I mean, you never know.
Yeah, this is the point. If wherever you start him, say you start Sewell at left guard, for random reason, at some point he's going to get game snaps at left tackle because Tyron's not going to last the whole. He's not going to last 16 games. I would put money on it. I really, really would. I think it's better to start him at guard and have him next to Tyron, and then when the time comes, move over.
Yeah, kick him back out then. Yeah.
Then kick him back out. But I hate myself for saying that because I have a problem with taking guys to play a position and then not playing them at that position. So I'm my own worst enemy in saying that. I hate it.
Rich, there's no doubt that it doesn't matter whereabouts in the O-line you are, you will be asked to play different positions regard to numbers and stuff.
Oh yeah, I know that, and don't get me wrong, and especially with injuries coming to play and everything else. Yeah, I just hate that side of things.
Don't forget, Zach Martin actually played right tackle this year as well.
Yeah,
and he did brilliant at it.
But you're willing though.
What do you do with Connor Williams?
Yeah, but there's another issue again.
I don't see it being an issue. He's not going to cause too much damage when it comes to salary cap or anything like that. But
no,
I do like Connor, but I just feel as though he's just not strong enough. I really don't.
He hasn't lived up.
No, he's not. He's not.
No, but would you agree? Would you agree though? Yeah, that too, and then you can do whatever you want. There's no point, I feel, in cutting him, but I do feel this team is much better with Tyron Smith than without him.
Yeah,
100%. Even at the 40 mil that it costs us.
So you're saying do you think we might be better without Connor Williams if Tyron Smith is playing? Is that what you're saying?
No. I'm just saying in general that with this team, like a lot of people are saying, we haven't got a full season out of Smith in like the last 4 years or whatever it is. But
that's true, yeah.
People are on about cutting and all the rest of it, 40 mil on the cap. But I feel that this team is better with him than without him.
Oh yeah. That's hands down. He's such a blue chip type of
very
like. And when we drafted him,
he's the crown jewel in the O line.
when we drafted him all those years ago, it was a no-brainer back then because we needed to protect Tony. But ever since he's been playing for us, like whenever he's on the field, he's been nothing but fantastic. Don't get me wrong, I think because of injuries and that, it's now getting his way. He has made a couple of mistakes and stuff like that. But you cannot still there's no one that is close to him in terms of ability and in terms of reading the play and making these crucial blocks. He's just an absolute monster when it comes to that position.
Come down a rabbit hole with me for a second and entertain me.
Yeah.
Okay. One of Rich's crazy thoughts. Williams is on the last year of his deal, right?
That's a fair deal. That's a fair point. Yeah.
What's that now? Let me read this. Easy for young dogs to learn new tricks. Yep. That's a fair point. Williams is on the last year of his deal, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What do we really think is the likelihood of re-signing him?
No, I think he's gone.
If we do re-sign him, he'll be more there than just a backup. And that's as sad as it is.
So why not, for the sake of it, we're in a position where we're at now. We have 29 free agents. We're trying to build up. Everyone's on about trading this player, trading that player. Why not try and package up Connor Williams with something to try and move back up?
I don't think many teams will be interested in him.
May not, but you could shop it. Is it not worth shopping it around and just seeing what to do? People need offensive linemen.
That's true. Every team needs it. Yeah, that's true. But
even if you keep it for within the season.
Yeah, but we're in no position to give up any. To be fair.
No. But Connor Williams, if you're not going to keep him, you lose him for 1 year.
If we didn't have the issues we had with our O-line, then I would say, I personally would entertain that. But because of how unreliable injury-wise that this offensive line has been, I would rather stick around.
Outside of Tyrant, though, how freak has this year been?
Oh, yeah.
Very, yeah.
So
I would say
that's why I make that suggestion.
It's been one of the worst years when it comes to things were it's just not meant to be, really.
Yeah. That's why I make that suggestion. At some point in the year, probably more mid-season rather than in the draft, someone's going to be needing an offensive lineman. Take advantage of it if you can.
Let's go deeper in the hole, Rich. Or would you rather trade?
Okay.
I was just going to say Connor Williams or Michael Gallup,
Connor Williams, 100%. Connor Williams.
No. The question is package Gallup with Connor Williams to move up significantly.
I was answering Jamie's question.
Oh, right. Well, the question is from Dog is would we need a package deal where you get Connor Williams and Michael Gallup to move up?
I wouldn't do that.
To be fair, I think that's actually a good idea. To be perfectly honest,
it's a good idea.
It depends what we're trading up for.
It depends, yeah. And that goes back to the Dak deal.
Or if we get multiple picks, I'd rather take and Brian just beat me to it. Actually, we would get multiple picks for that. I would take multiple picks.
If you let me get back into the teams, so that I can take the best available cornerback. If this is in a situation where people are sliding down the board, if you let me get back to that position and have another random pick later on, maybe I'll entertain it. But I do not want Gallup leaving.
The only thing with that is could you then be in the realms of, because we've got 3 wide receivers, somebody's going to sit there and think, well, do you know what? Actually, the Cowboys really don't need 3 high caliber wide receivers. So maybe try and sell you short. So, like you said, if you wanted to, I'm just using this example. So you were saying, look, it's going to cost you a late first rounder to get Michael Gallup from us. Some teams are going to look and say, well, actually, then if they won't let Gallup go, he's clearly their 3rd receiver, or they think he's their 3rd receiver. So we're not going to give him that. It could be more of a late 2nd round pick. Would you take a late 2nd round pick for Michael Gallup?
That's not the way of thinking. I would say that teams in the NFL would actually see Michael Gallup being their number 1, depending.
Yeah.
In some teams,
on our roster. On our roster.
On our roster, he is to be fair. Well, if you're putting it based on contract, yeah, Cooper is number 1. Then it would be Lamb, then it would be Gallup based on if you're thinking about contracts. But in terms of how the players have been this year, it's been pretty much even. Like all our wide receivers have done like the fair amount of shift. Like it's been very equal, and like obviously there's been more spectacular passes from one to the other. But when you're going like think of a trade value, Gallup is right up there. Teams will actually like and I really do think like if we get the deal done with Dak, where does that leave Michael Gallup? Because I don't think we're going to let him go off in free agency, and there's no way. I don't think we're going to be able to afford him.
No.
I don't.
Yeah, if you're going to trade him, you have to trade him this year.
We have to trade him this year, Richie, because if we get Dak, there's literally going to be little room to give.
Yeah,
Michael Gallup. That
this is the same. This is the same argument that I made earlier for Connor Williams. If you're only going to have him for 1 more year, why don't you look into a very serious possibility of trading him? Now that's fine. I don't want to lose him because I don't want to lose a very good wide receiver core that we've just built up, and the Dak didn't get to lose last year. But I do see the logic. But if we're going to trade him away, and he's going to go and be a number 1, number 2 wide receiver in some other team, I want to get something fucking serious for that.
Yeah, well,
that's why I said a few weeks ago that if I were going to trade him, I'd trade him at the draft. And I know it was talked about saying like, oh, well, actually do it before the trade deadline. But when he gets to the trade deadline, his value is going to be less because his contract is almost up. I think you get more value for him at the draft.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Not necessarily. So think of this scenario. Remember when Sam Bradford got traded, like for a first rounder, for desperation. He was never ever going to be a first rounder, never. But but the Vikings gave away a first round pick, I believe it was, and it didn't really do anything. Let's be honest, he didn't do anything at all.
True,
but the thing I'm trying to say is, it's like we all know the worth of what Michael Gallup brings to the table. We can definitely, if a player like, again, Matthew Stafford, that's an example. Like I know I'm kind of jumping in and out here, but you're getting the idea in terms of some teams might value Gallup a wee bit lower, but some of them might say, "Oh, we'll give you a mid-table first-round pick for them because of desperation, because their starting wide receiver might be out for the season." But that seems to be that could be another thing as well. Is after the draft, if we still got Gallup after the draft in our team and in one of those other 31 teams, and their main star number 1 or number 2 receivers down, expect phone calls. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I bet you the Eagles would take Michael Gallup.
They would. But whether they can afford him, to be honest with you.
Well, they could easily afford them.
Nah.
Well, being in that for that year of the contract, and it just depends on their cap, really. End of the day.
Yeah, well, they're screwed for a couple of years.
But he's going to want to trade in the deal.
Yeah. But here we go. Going back to our original talk to wrap up the show, guys.
No.
Oh.
No. The comment.
Oh, no, Brian's
right. Okay.
No,
I would hate to face the Cowboys to face Gallup. That would be horrible. But here's one for you, then, guys. Going through, as we say, the quarterbacks that are going to go in the first 10 picks. Plus, you take into account the wide receivers, Kyle Pitts as well. I'm going to give you these options then of the players that drop down to the Cowboys and available to them, and tell me who you would pick, and let us know as well in the comments watching from these players who you would pick, and then we'll finish off with paying the bills. So you would have available to you at this point, and I've marked off Sewell just for the purposes of this exercise. Jamar Chase, Devonta Smith, and I've put Kyle Pitts going to the Eagles. So what you're left with is Caleb Farley, Christian Darrisaw, Patrick Surtain, Kwity Paye, or Rashawn Slater. So who would you take at that point available to you? They're all top 10. These are all players who are top 10 talent.
To be honest, well, Brian said Slater. I mean, I'll be honest. To be honest, if it's at that stage and it's going to be a best available for the position that is in desperate need, and the only other position I can think of right now, other than O-line, would be cornerback or linebacker.
Mhm.
So it'll be one of the two. I don't really care as long as we can fill those positions up and just not having to worry about what it was like last season, pretty much. But
If that plays out,
everyone's seen Slater, so I will go with that.
Okay.
if that plays out and they go linebacker at 10, I will be fucking pissed off.
No,
Why?
you see,
I will be
Why?
pissed off.
Why?
no.
Because I think
really the
it's
only
far too
option-
soon right off the two guys you got.
It makes sense though at the same time
Yeah.
because like we only had 5 linebackers in the active roster this year. 5.
That's fine.
Did you?
That's fine.
I
But
tell
to
you
go
one
best
thing.
player
It's not
available
fine.
at a
It's not
position
fine.
of need.
I bet it's not fine, especially in rotation. It's not. You're not going to play bloody 3 linebackers all in all
Hang
out.
on.
No, you've got to
I
left.
tell you who
Hang
very
on.
possibly could be available to you is a guy we mentioned and this week's highlight clip, Owusu Koromoa. And if you watch him playing,
I saw that.
a pure off-ball linebacker, insane.
He is good.
Absolutely perfect for Dan Quinn in the system.
When you go best player available at a position of need, which is what generally we all say is the best way to go, we all generally tend to agree. I see linebacker as the third out of those 3 options of offensive lineman, cornerback, and linebacker. So if you go for your third option rather than the first or second, I'll be fucking pissed off because you've gone against what you say you're going to do.
But what I'm saying is, Rich, it's like, say for example, right, those cornerbacks are already taken, and we're kind of left with what's best available at the position in need, and that would be linebacker. Then I would be like, well, what can we get? Like, it would be either are we better risking drafting a linebacker or trade down where we can get another cornerback who is like roughly about 15, 16 in the board.
Mate, if Sewell, Slater, Surtain, Farley, blah 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 blah, if they're gone, fine.
I can't see that.
I can get on board, but I don't see it.
Yeah, I would say though, I wonder at pick number 10 if Owusu Koromoa is a bit rich. If they're going to go down that route, I would trade down. I would trade back and wait for him to fall back to me. I wouldn't take Owusu Koromoa at 10. I still think he's great. I just don't know. But for me, I'm taking Caleb Farley. We were talking about this back in mid-January, and I was saying for me it's Caleb Farley, and I'm still going there. Like, to me, the 3 most important positions that you look to try and draft, 1 is quarterback, 2 is pass rusher, 3 is cornerback. It's in that order in terms of that are difficult to find, in the draft of pure quality.
So are we safe to assume that our order of need would be O-line, cornerback, and then linebacker?
I would say defensive line. I would say O-line, defensive back, D-line, then linebacker.
Well,
as a whole, I know what you're saying in general, but yeah. In the first round, in your top 3, yes, that order, yeah. It would be O-line, corner, linebacker, but generally throughout the draft, I would go the other way.
Oh yeah, we can't forget that one. Safety.
Yeah. Safety's coming in the second round. Don't you worry, guys. I have full confidence the second round will be safety.
Regardless this year, we need to draft the safety. Regardless.
Yeah. They'll take one in the second round, but they won't take one in the first round.
If we don't draft the safety in the second round, I think not only just me and Brian will go off our fucking heads. There's going to be an absolute outrage, I think.
I would go as far to say as this, mate, that they will not only draft a safety, they will bring in a veteran as well out of free agency. Because they got to. Because at the moment, their only safety is Donovan Wilson. So you got your box safety, who's playing free. But, Paul, hit us away with finishing off the show with paying the bills, mate, and we'll get out of everyone's hair. Yes. So we will start off with our senior or main sponsor, Cowboys Experience. Hit us away, Paul.
Yep, sure. So if you're planning on going to a Dallas Cowboys game next season, be sure to go and check out Cowboys Experience, the ultimate game day and experience for meet and greet, tailgate, and also the game day experience where you get to meet former Dallas Cowboys players and cheerleaders, alumni, and also current players within the NFL Dallas Cowboys roster. And me and Jamie are pretty much best examples. We've been with Cowboys experience multiple times on our trips over to Dallas, and honestly, you get treated like royalty. But if you are planning on going, be sure to use the code UK Cowboys and you will receive a free gift. And if Rich can actually finish that off for me for our usual.
Don't be a clown, get free stuff.
Yes. And also as well, don't forget to go to silverfx.co.uk to get UK Cowboys merch. And as we say every week, send us your photos and your pictures when you go. I've got my stuff in already. I am not wearing it because I keep pointing the wrong way. Keep wearing. You got to wear the sponsor. Yes.
You are just all coordination off tonight.
I'm off today.
Because obviously, because Rich enlightens all of our lives, I think we should ask Barry to put an extra code in there, so if they use two, and the second code should be chocolate pudding.
We do not talk. There's two rules. There's two rules of UK Cowboys TV. You do not talk about chocolate pudding, and the second rule is you do not talk about
chocolate fucking pudding.
Right, next week, guys, we are looking further down into the draft. Offensive prospects only next week. The week after, Paul's favourite defensive side. So join us next week where we look from top to bottom, rounds 1 to 7, all the offensive prospects. Well, not all of them, but the ones really that apply to the Cowboys. We'll go through them, look at the offensive prospects, discounting the quarterbacks because we've done an entire episode on that. But apart from that, guys, enjoy your weekend. Stay safe. From myself, from Paul, Jamie, and Rich, we'll see you all next week, guys. This has been UK Cowboys TV.
Catch you later.
Yes.